This is Lessons in the Challenges of Leadership, the series that enables managers to achieve the remarkable. Podcast, video, short reads. Conceived, developed and presented by Siebert Neathling.
I do love this topic, partly because there is so much hype around it, so much bluster, so much claiming of foresight and genius, rather than luck and happenstance. Those who claim innovation forget that we as a species have always innovated. You don't migrate from the plains of Africa to the land bridges of Europe and Asia without being innovative. You don't move from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age and the Iron Age unless you experiment and try new things, then refine and perfect your inventions. Admittedly, our forebears were slow learners. The Stone Age lasted 3.5 million years to about 6000 BC. The Sumerians invented symbolic writing, but it took humanity 5,500 years before Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press in 1450. And Leonardo da Vinci, who designed flying craft, died in 1519, and it took 403 years before Orville and Wilbur Wright had their first successful flight on December 17, 1903. But from that first unspectacular flight to Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong walking on the moon took just 66 years. From the first domestic computers to the World Wide Web took 10 years. So humanity-changing innovation has accelerated from lead times of millions of years to thousands to hundreds to tens, and now even faster. We have always innovated, but we now innovate at considerable pace. And the way innovation happens is so interesting. Some of it is intentional, but so much of it is accidental or just derivative. I'm sure the first Bronze Age tool was pure accident. Some hairy bloke noticed that the rocks around the fireplace changed shape when heated at high temperature. And then there's trial and error innovation and incremental change, or slightly adapting others' ideas. And now and then, there is visionary innovation. But most of the time, innovation is not necessarily spectacular. Now, my own greatest triumph of innovation was pretty regressive, but I'm still very proud of it. So in my 20s, after university and a couple of years working, I decided to travel the world before getting too trapped in a career. It was a badly planned attempt to extend my youth, and I ended up in London and got a few short-term jobs on a construction site before landing a position as an assistant in a photographic studio. It didn't pay much, and I needed cash, so I decided to try busking, borrowing a guitar from a colleague. I spent a few days practicing and set out to entertain the crowds. Nothing innovative here. The first day didn't go well. I chose to debut at Pimlico Station, a strange choice because it is a relatively small and quiet stop, but I somehow felt that I wouldn't be as shy as I would be elsewhere. And I also knew that other buskers didn't play there. I didn't feel up to the competition right from the start. My first day's takings were less than £5. I was terribly self-conscious, and it affected my confidence. It felt very much like begging. So I left Pimlico cold, sore and disheartened, but decided that I would try again the next day. Day 2 was worse. Shortly after starting, I broke a string, probably because of the temperature contrasts. I've never been a good guitarist, a bit of a hacker really. I play mainly rhythm chords with the odd over-practiced run or embellishment. At best, and with a good guitar, I sound like an advanced beginner. But with my colleague's old rattlebox without a string, I must have sounded dreadful. Fortunately, the acoustics in a tube station is very flattering, the sound bouncing off walls full and resonant. I did notice one interesting thing, though. It seemed that some songs brought in more money than others. I did a pretty good version of Simon and Garfunkel's Mrs. Robinson, and quite a few people dropped a coin in the hat while I was playing that. Perhaps people gave me money because they liked the music, not because they felt sorry for me. The next Saturday morning, I was at my post early. It was a good day, and I made as much as I had in the previous 2 days combined. I played for longer, so more people were exposed to my music, but I also played with more confidence and projected my voice better. Interestingly, I again noticed that some songs seemed to bring in more revenue than others. All the Simon and Garfunkel songs did well, as did most of the Beatles songs. At home that evening, I came up with an excellent idea. If some songs did better than others, why didn't I play only the good ones? I would get tired of them, but no one heard me play for longer than a few minutes as they walked past. They wouldn't notice if I played the same songs over and over again. I drew a rough graph on the back of a song sheet. The x-axis was for the specific songs I played. The y-axis I divided into 5 bands. Top earners, very good songs, average songs, below average songs, and should be replaced. I wrote a separate list of the 30 songs I played and numbered them. So the next day, I went to my usual spot at Pimlico and put the graph and a pen next to me. I started singing. I still have that graph, and I can reconstruct exactly what happened. As I played each song, I kept my eyes on the hat in front of me, and it wasn't always easy to see who put in what amount of money, but by the frequency of coins dropping into the hat, I could guess how well a song was doing. My versions of Mrs. Robinson, Imagine, and So Long Marianne were top earners. The worst earners were some of my favorite songs, Bowie's Space Oddity and Arlo Guthrie's Last Train amongst them. I was reluctant to stop playing these songs, but I thought I should have a go at giving the market exactly what it wanted. And it worked. I played a second session that afternoon of only the top earners. My income doubled immediately. Was I being innovative? Well, you judge for yourself, but I think so. I kept refining my market-oriented approach to busking. By the way, at this stage, I had studied no business or economics, so I had no theoretical appreciation for what I was doing. Now, over the next few months, I got very tired of the top earners. And as I started doing better and better, I occasionally played and reassessed some of the other songs just to keep myself motivated. And on the graph, I have a few songs with red upwards arrows next to them. These are the ones I promoted to the top earner playing list. I suppose I also learned how to play the songs to appeal more to my audience. And talking about the audience, I noticed that it generally was a particular type of person who gave me money. Young people didn't bother. People in their 20s would often stop and listen, but rarely contributed. Old people were also generally not very forthcoming. I suppose the 60s generation were the best because I played mainly their music. But I also played mainly their music because they were the best payers. A chicken and egg situation, and my research was hardly scientific, but for my purposes, it was good enough and I achieved results. I soon had enough courage to upgrade from Pimlico Station. I started researching alternatives after work each day. Green Park seemed excellent, but it was very intimidating. It had long passages between some of the lines and a very high volume of commuters, but there were also several other buskers there. I stopped and watched each of them for a while. They were brilliant musicians who did not do all that well, and some very average ones who earned quite a bit more than I did. Some looked like absolute bums and probably did get some sympathy money, and others were quite well dressed. The only important constant seemed to be whether the audience liked the music. I played at Green Park a few times, but I didn't like it that much. Because of the sheer volume, income was quite good, but you had to get there really early to book a pitch, and at times I had to wait for hours before I could play. I decided to research other stations and soon found what became my very own permanent pitch. If Green Park was doing what everyone else was, this was innovation. It was a long, curved passage linking Charing Cross Station and the southeast side of Trafalgar Square, where Whitehall and the Mall join. It was ideal for many reasons. It was a long passage. I had learned that this was good because people could listen to you for a long time, allowing them more time to decide to give you something. I suppose they also got more value for money, which must have positively influenced their purchase decision. There were also no other buskers there. The reason was that the passage was exposed to the pavement at one end and therefore very cold. But dressed correctly and with short gloves, it was bearable. My fingertips still suffered, and as a result, my sessions were short. But because no one harassed me for the pitch, I could play several sessions in a day. Another fact that made the pitch so good was that there were public toilets leading off the passage with turnstiles at the entrance. I soon learned to play right at the entrance because people would often have spare coins in their hands after paying at the turnstiles. I made it easy for them to pay me something. In addition, the time people spent in the toilets also increased the time they were exposed to my music, and I often got money as people left the public facilities. So there I was, playing the same 5 songs over and over again in a freezing cold passage at the entrance to public toilets. Not very glamorous, but I know that I probably made more money in a day than any other busker in London. I think I was the most innovative busker in London. When I stopped busking, I had earned a small fortune and I had saved a fair amount of money. My novel and, I think, innovative approach made the difference. Now, being pre-mobile phones with cameras, I have no photos, but I did take my young family there many years later to show them my pitch. In the next episode, we'll look at a great corporate example of creating an innovation culture. And by the way, I still like playing the guitar. I'm not good at it, but at a party I can belt out surprisingly credible renditions of exactly 5 songs. See you next time.